The way I see Bright Sky is we got 108 partners who collectively own Bright Sky. You know, there's a company and there's a community interest company. We are in it to create beautiful projects which are really supporting the global shift of consciousness. But the way I see it is that the partners and the founding members who we are inviting right now to become part of what we're doing, they're gathering hand in hand, holding hands around the fire. That's my image in my mind. Now the fire is in the middle and the fire represents Bright Sky. And actually, for me personally, it's not even about Bright Sky, it's the connection to spirit, it's the connection to life, you know.
Hello, welcome into Chi Time, your conscious living chill out show with me, Clara Apollo. And on this episode, at last I have for you, Bart is here. Bart, how do I pronounce your surname?
In English or Dutch? In Dutch it is de Greeve. And in English, somehow it has turned into the Greeve.
Okay. Bart, but de Greeve.
Yes.
Well, look, thank you so much for finding some time to talk with me here on Chi Time. I know you're really busy at the moment with Bright Sky, aren't you?
Yeah, thank you. It's an absolute pleasure to be here. It's a joy to be here with you as well, because ever since we met, the connection always lifts up my heart. And yes, it is incredibly busy. I'm working 7 days a week at the moment, having 10 Skype calls a day, meetings with the team. We have about 20 plus people who are making all sorts of contributions to Bright Sky, from which you are one of them as well, which is an absolute delight. Thank you for all of that. And it's on the edge of manageable.
Oh,
but
yes.
it's also automatically the place where I am very much growing from what I'm doing as well. You know, it's a theme in Bright Sky for all of us who are working in Bright Sky is self-care. And within Bright Sky, we are creating an e-course self-care for practitioners as well, because so many of the practitioners who are teaching other people how to take care of themselves struggle with self-care as well.
Oh, I so know this one. I mean, we've had conversations about this, haven't we? So what is Bright Sky about? So for somebody who's completely new, might have heard the words. I know I've been dripping it into Chi Time for the last few weeks. What is Bright Sky all about, Bart?
I mean, it's difficult to explain in one or two sentences, which over the whole course of Bright Sky has been a topic which keeps coming back. What I can share is that this originates from the idea of, actually from the realization I had to see a lot of my friends who are practitioners wanting to bring their heart into the world, wanting to bring their offering into the world, but in reality, spending a lot of time behind the computer, being isolated, doing exactly what they don't want to do, which is excruciating often. And out of that, the idea came to create a platform which supports practitioners with all the aspects of their practice. But the way that Bright Sky is developing is that everybody who comes into Bright Sky and aligns with what we are trying to bring into the world, everybody comes up with new ideas, with new contributions. So it's just ever expanding. So the original idea, what it was to be a platform for practitioners, is now just one of the many aspects that we are working with. It's still there. What we are trying to do in that way is to bring professional business skills together with spiritual community, together with healing, with personal development, with growth. Because it's quite clear, I think, for many people that there's so many people who have beautiful ideas, but it requires quite some business skills and some resources that we don't always have. And one of the things that I've seen as well is that so many people who are practitioners and feel isolated behind their computer, they feel like a lone wolf. And the time of the lone wolf is over, is what we're saying in Bright Sky as well. It's time to come together and to work, to find new ways of working together.
God, it really feels like this now, doesn't it? At the start of the new decade. And I know that's something that really resonated so deeply with me when we first spoke, was that I feel so overwhelmed by the amount of admin that I have to do, because what
Mm,
I'm doing is expanding. And how do I manage that? And how do I then look after myself well enough so that when I'm actually out there, you know, teaching or doing interviews like this, I'm at the best that I can be and not all bogged
mm,
down. And that kind of, you know, again, lifted my heart talking to you as well. Like, there's people that understand that and go, oh yeah, I know, I get you. And there are also people that are really super whiz at the social media and the business, and they just need projects to come through to use those skills with.
yeah.
So it feels like a really good balance.
Thank you for saying that. This is what I've seen in Bright Sky, and what you know. I've had quite a journey in life, trying to fit in and trying to find my way. And where I'm at right now is I've had the realization that if I do what comes with ease for me, what comes naturally and easy for me, then I automatically grow from it and I get nourished from it. And if I'm trying to do what is not easy for me, and there's so many things within Bright Sky that if I try to do it, it is excruciating for me to try to do it, even because it just creates something in my mind where it's really difficult to do it. It's all the admin stuff, it's all the tech stuff, all the computer stuff. It drains me. And at the same time, when I choose to do it anyway, I'm actually a liability, because I'm doing something which goes against my own nature, where I don't have the skills.
Yeah.
And we have people in Bright Sky who enjoy coding, who enjoy computer stuff. We have people in Bright Sky who enjoy admin, who enjoy finance. And they can benefit from all the offerings that the other people are bringing. So doing what we love to do is the way forward in my eyes. And I also have come to realize that what we learn when we grow up in this world is the total opposite. You know, I got a 10-year-old son. He's going to school, and he's going to a Steiner school, but he's been in a public school as well. And quite fast, the focus is on where the children need to improve, and not the focus is not on what do you love to do, what's your passion. And if every child grows up looking at where they need to improve, they automatically end up feeling not good enough. And that has been a very big part of my personal journey in life, is that I wasn't feeling okay within myself about myself, and I was constantly trying to improve and trying to fix things. And somewhere I think in the course of being busy with Bright Sky, a lot of healing has happened for me. A lot of growth is happening, because I'm working with people who are trying to establish the same, just to be happy and fulfilled. And how can they support outside themselves as well?
It feels to me like a call back to true community, where, you know, in the old days, I mean, I'm just sort of imagining here, but when we lived in the villages and then everybody was working with their strengths, you just worked as a community. You'd go and see so-and-so for such and such, and someone else for something else. And not one person was expected to be able to do everything. And it's a complete wrong approach, expecting people to be able to be good at everything. It puts far too much pressure on, as you say, and it stops you from really tuning into your essence and actually honing and enjoying the gifts that you've got that could be even bigger and brighter.
Yeah. You said something about doing these interviews with Chi Time and wanting to be on your best. If we are resourced enough, then whatever wants to come out comes out without an effort. And ideally, that's how we are working. Ideally, we are able to bring what naturally wants to come into the world, because it doesn't come from a place of willpower. It doesn't lead to depletion. It doesn't lead to, needing a lot of time off to kind of recharge. If we just stay in tune, what naturally wants to come out of us, it's often spot on, it's often right, and it's often beautiful.
Yeah, but to really be in a community of people that understand that. So for myself, doing everything that I do with this interview show, but also with the Qigong teaching and the conscious living events, the admin load is really dense. And if I start to sort of think of farming out that to someone else, not only have I got to teach them how to do it, but they're going to want to get paid instantly. And it's like, well, the money comes eventually, And if I have to pay instantly, then I'm in depletion and I'm thinking, I can't afford to do this. And how many people listening or watching this are in a similar position to this, that they think, I really do need some help here, but I'm going to have to pay for that help before the work has actually harvested the reward.
But there's something very interesting you bring in here. It's about the getting paid. And somehow in the world we live in, a lot of value is often measured in finance. And that's something we try to kind of address as well. We are integrating something which we call permaculture principles in finance. Which basically means don't take more than you need. Make sure that what you're doing is sustainable. It's developing something which I'm really excited about, because it's one of those sentences which instantly really resonates very deeply and can give me goosebumps on my spine. But if not always value is associated with money, then you can create more of a field where if you are giving something from your heart to somebody who can do admin stuff, and that is really valuable to them, and they can offer something to you, which is really valuable to them, then it doesn't necessarily mean that money is involved in the equation. I'm not saying money is wrong in any way. We're not in opposition with anything. We're not against money, but we're trying to create a different relationship with money ourselves first and foremost, within our community first and foremost, and from there on trying to inspire others to look at their relationship with money as well.
Yeah, and like abundance in a much bigger view of it. So how does this exchange occurred with somebody with one gift and someone with another gift? How do you do time for time, and you put pebbles in the jar? Or
we don't know. A big part of Bright Sky is that it is an experiment. We are creating something new together. And this might sound strange to some of the listeners, I don't know, but in my experience, we are co-creating with spirit, and we are co-creating with the community that we are creating for. And we don't have all the answers yet. We take a few steps and then we see how it works. We get the reflections back. Does this work? Does this not? Then we need to adjust. So there's a whole lot of areas where, for me personally, it is a mystery, and that part of Bright Sky is something that I really enjoy. I had a conversation today with somebody earlier, and she's creating support for young women from who go into their teens. That period of, and that's beautiful for me. It's another addition to Bright Sky. We have other people who are involved. Who create a beautiful festival, which is called Wider Horizons, which is for people who are the age from 18 till 25, to help them go through that process of initiation as well. Mm-hmm. Very, very, very close to my heart. I don't know who I'm going to talk to next week, and I don't know what their offerings are. I don't know what they are going to bring to the mix. I don't have all the answers. I don't need to have all the answers, because it's not up to me. I'm just...
Beautiful.
Does that make
sense?
So
you didn't want to be introduced as the founder of Bright Sky, rather the fire starter of Bright Sky. So how did Bright Sky come to you, and why do you call yourself the fire starter?
I mean, I don't go around calling myself the fire starter. I'm quite shy, in a way as well. But the difference between fire starter and founder, first and foremost, founder feels heavy to me. There's something with it. There's something which doesn't sit right, and it never sat right. The way I see Bright Sky is we got 108 partners who collectively own Bright Sky. There's a company, and there's a community interest company. We are in it to create beautiful projects which are really supporting the global shift of consciousness. But the way I see it is that the partners and the founding members who we are inviting right now to become part of what we're doing, they're gathering hand in hand, holding hands around the fire. That's my image in my mind. Now the fire is in the middle, and the fire represents Bright Sky. And actually, for me personally, it's not even about Bright Sky. It's the connection to spirit. It's the connection to life. So it actually, Bright Sky is kind of a vehicle for me personally. I started the fire. You could also say I planted the first seed, but the first seed was like this. The first seed was like this. And then I started connecting with people, and there were people who really resonated with it. When they resonated, they brought their heart in, they brought their ideas in, and they kind of started adding. And now it's just exponentially growing. We have more than 400 people already supporting Bright Sky financially and with their heart. And all those people, for me, are the founders together. On the 21st of March this year, we will officially launch. We will have a marketing campaign to reach out to the public. That's the moment. Everybody who is involved at this moment is helping to lay the foundation for Bright Sky. And part of it is for me personally, I don't want to be this project about any individual. I want it to be about us. You know, we are Bright Sky. That feeling is something which is very important to me.
Oh, it's beautiful, because there's such a call to tribal gathering at the moment. It's big for so many of us. Our hearts can hear that song and resonate with that song, and we don't want to live in isolated ways anymore. And so it's so timely. What was that first seed for you? That first little flame?
Yes, one thing with what you just said about the tribes. For me, Bright Sky is a community where the different tribes who are all doing their work outside can come together. It's the time of the lone wolf is over, and it's the time of the gathering of the tribes. There's a sentence in Bright Sky which is called meaningful connection through shared purpose. And within that, for me, it's a sentence which has many different layers, but within that, I kind of lost my track there, which happens to me every now and then.
It happens to all of us. There's so much going on for you at the moment, but
so much information as well, so much to share.
Absolutely. What was that first seed then? What was that germ of the idea that got you talking to people, and so their ideas got ignited?
I think I have to go a little bit back in time. When I was a teenager, I was addicted to heroin, and I had a long journey with that. Then I picked myself up, and I created a company. I became very successful in my company. But at the time, even though I was very successful, I was very depressed, and I was also ashamed about my depression. So what I did is I used the reflections of everybody around me that I was successful to hide my own shame behind. And that didn't really last. At one point, I really needed support, and I went into a program. I've done 15 months of residential therapy, and had other people run my company while I was basically taking care of the root of what was previously my addiction. You know, I had stopped using drugs, but the underlying issues were not addressed at all. And what I did when I've done that therapy is try to bring everything that was inspiring so much in my program that I was doing. I was trying to bring that into my business. So I was bringing hugging into my business. I had sharings, we had feedback, we had all kinds of stuff just to kind of try to integrate that part of my life. Now, when the recession happened, my company came in a very difficult situation, and that led to bankruptcies. And in that period of my life, I followed my son, who moved to the UK because I separated from my partner. We had a 2.5-year-old son, and I left everything in Holland behind and came into a community, Osho Lila in Dorset. And there I tried to bring my business skills into communities. Now, the way I look at it now, it's both been tryouts to what is now Bright Sky. So it's really where Bright Sky brings professional business skills, a professional organization. When we have an agreement, we have an agreement. What does that agreement look like? Are there no misunderstandings? How are we going to do this? Do we have the right people in the right role? All those professional business skills are now in Bright Sky, hand in hand with a lot of heart and a lot of beautiful people who just, come together, meaningful connection through shared purpose.
Yeah. Oh, that is so beautiful. And thank you for sharing that with us, your backstory there.
You're so welcome.
I was going to say, what is the vision for the future? But actually, Bright Sky is the vision for the future.
I mean, I can say something about it. The official launch of Bright Sky is going to be on the 21st of March. And that will be the time that the pre-launch of Bright Sky Holland is going to start. So from that moment, we will gather 108 people who collectively start up Bright Sky in Holland. That will be a time where all the lessons that we have learned from bringing Bright Sky where it is right now in the UK, because we've tried out a lot of things that didn't work, and that brought us in the direction what works. So we have a second chance, or take two in Holland. And in Holland, we will use the time to really look at how can we really perfect the way we bring it into the world in Holland, that it goes with more ease. And from there on, Germany is probably the next. And the intention for Bright Sky is to go global, but with an incredible focus on local. Like now we haven't started in the UK yet. It will be with the spring equinox. But at this moment, we have 6 active Bright Sky hubs. We have people in Manchester creating events in Manchester, people in Bristol creating events in Bristol, as well as in Stroud, in Frome, in London, in Totnes. Glastonbury is really knocking on the door. Brighton is really knocking on the door. And the vision is to have hundreds of Bright Sky hubs spread over the UK, where collectively we start finding more and more out how we can support each other. And we're developing already different things in Bright Sky to bring support on a business level as well. Wow. So yeah, the vision, and for me personally, it feels like, because the vision is growing through everybody who feels drawn to Bright Sky, actually there is no limit. It's like, and it's quite something to hold sometimes energetically. It feels like there is no roof. Whatever ideas are coming in the near future. Tomorrow even already. I don't know. But it's just growing and growing, like a little bit like a garden. It's an organic garden.
Yeah, but you're called Bright Sky, and there's that lovely phrase, "The sky's the limit." In which case, there's no limit. So where did the name Bright Sky come from? Quickly.
To be honest, I don't remember. I do know that it had different names. I'm working on this project, I would say, for 5 years, and the last 2 years I'm working on this project full time. And it had different stages, and it's almost like when the vision became bigger, it needed a new name.
Yeah.
The last name before this was called Ubuntu. I have a connection with South Africa. My son is South African, or half South African. Okay. And Ubuntu was something just that really touched my heart, but it didn't stay as the name. And I think Bright Sky is a better name. It
is. And so how can people find out more about this? Because I bet many people listening to this are going, I want to know more.
Sure. If you go to brightsky.community, www.brightsky.community, then you can send a little message to the email, which you will find on the website. The website will give more information. The website is far from finished. It will only be launched fully on the spring equinox on the 21st of March this year, when we properly launch. But it gives a lot of information, and it also shows what we are looking for right now, because right now we are inviting 777 people to become a founding member. The reason why we call them founding member is because they help us to lay the foundation of this whole project. And the founding members are invited to come very close to the fire. Like I described before, we're holding hands around the fire. We are, as a community, tending to the fire. It's not one person's responsibility, which also taps a little bit into leadership. We try to stay really close to the ground. As people, we are all equal, and we need leaders, but ideally we can all take a role of a leader, and recognize that when we are a leader, when we are leading, it's a role, and that we can step into the role of leadership, and we can step back in the circle when it's required for somebody else to take that on, because they are better equipped, they have more experience, or they're just better.
This is perfect. So you become, you hone your gifts, and then you step forward and share your gifts, which some people could say would be you leading, but actually it's you shining and igniting others with that passion that you have for what you're bringing through.
Yes, at the same time, we do need leadership. We do need somebody who is responsible over marketing, because if 20 people are just doing something, it becomes completely chaotic. We need somebody who has the main responsibility for finance. We need somebody who has, if we have an event in Frome, we had an event last Tuesday, beautiful event, 52 people came, was lovely energy. But somebody needs to take the responsibility of organizing that. So there is a fluidity in it, but there's also a very clear structure needed.
Very good. In fact, George Scott who was organising the Frome one, wasn't it? And he was the first person that I spoke to that Pixie Pete put me in touch with before. Beautiful. In fact, I think actually George has been on the show because he was chatting such wisdom. I just turned on the record button. He did know. I did tell him. And then he put me directly in touch with you. So I'm sure we'll get him back on again because it's so topical. And I nearly got, sorry.
No, sorry, I was interrupting you. Sorry,
no.
Philip.
It's all right. It's all good.
When you talk with George, he will give a completely different transmission on certain aspects, because if 10 people are sharing about Bright Sky, every sharing will be slightly different because of what is most alive in their heart. And that's just a beautiful aspect. So if you have George and have him talk about Bright Sky, you will get a transmission from a completely different perspective. And if another person comes, they will share their heart with where they are touched. And
that honestly will just be completely transparent here. That has become my role in Bright Sky, is to interview people who are involved, to talk about what it is they find Bright Sky is for them. And I know Beth's going to come on as well. And I know I've got some of the ambassadors lining up, like Davina McHale and Jyoti Manuel is going to come in. I so want to talk to Matt McCartney and Yakov and Susanna. And I mean, you've got such an amazing crew there. And then there's the whole Oshulila link as well. So I'm like, whoa, let's dive in there too. And
sure.
Amazing. Yeah. Really, really amazing. So there's also a lot of musicians. So Tristan Starling's going to be on the show in a couple of weeks' time. He did send me, we were going to be on before Christmas, but it didn't work. We didn't manage to get the live sorted out. But he did send me his phenomenal album. So if I've got time, I'll play some of that a bit later. But right now, you have got a track that you would like to play, listeners. So could you tell us what it is and why you've chosen it, please?
Yeah, I think we changed the track. I have to figure out. I mean, it's a beautiful track of Susie Rowe, who is one of the Bright Sky partners. And the reason why I would love to hear this song is because 2 days ago I received a little video from a tree planting event. We had 4 tree planting events with the winter solstice. We planted the first 2,000 trees before we even launched. We had a couple of 100 people involved, spread over 4 locations. And the video touches me so deeply because it's just such an authentic expression of joy and love of all the people that I see in the video. And then the Susie song, I think it's called Nature Song. I think that's the song, that's the title of the song, is so fitting. So I had another song in my mind, but receiving this little video of Susie, and Susie being a partner of Bright Sky, but it's also very much about our connection with the earth, what Bright Sky is about as well. It feels like the most appropriate song for me.
Oh, brilliant. Thank you so much, Bart, for being part of G Time, and also for all you're doing to help knit and weave and crochet even Bright Sky into being.
You're so welcome, and thank you for what you're doing. It's really beautiful to work together with you as well.
Here's Susie Rowe with Sing Nature Song.
She's calling us to wake up. She's asking us to take off our shoes. She's unconditional love. She's joy. She's our living muse. United we stand when we realize we're not separate from the land. I will open my eyes and sing nature's song. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do. Sing nature's song. Do-do-do-do-do-do. She's inviting us to breathe in. Sail a timeless tide and take it back to the beginning. This time, with a conscious mind, united we stand.